So I can't remember if I talked about feeding plants, especially seedlings right now. So I'm going to show you, I think I mentioned this company before, Down to Earth. They make a starter mix. You see the 333? Don't worry about the numbers right now. Excuse me. The numbers we'll get into later. But it is a powdered starter mix. So once your seedlings get, 2 inches to 3 inches, you want to start trying to think about feeding them. The best way to use those powders, though, is to soak them in water. Anything liquid it breaks down quicker, of course, and it's more usable. So I'll take, half a cup of that and soak it in water and get it nice and extracted. You'll see it looking mossy and green and the water being dark. And then use that with your plants. You can also take that water, pour it into the water that you're watering your seedlings with, and that's even better. It gives them a little boost every other day, which is about when you're going to water them. Sorry, it's like a piece of hay down my throat. Anyway, so that is one of the things you might want to consider picking up. You can also pick up a liquid, that is organic if you're growing organically, and that will work too, but be very careful. Seedlings can burn real easily, and so you want to do something that is seedling calm, basically. So down here I have my pile of all of my fertilizers. Again, I love Down to Earth. I don't know if you can see this or not. BioLive is the one you want to purchase. BioLive makes it easy for you. There it is, BioLive. 542. It's a basic feed, and if you don't know a whole lot about feed, it is one you'll want to choose. You can use it almost on anything very safely. It's a powder, so you want to put it down as soon as you can into the soil so it can start breaking down and be usable right away. So BioLive is a safe one. The thing I love about neem seed meal, which is that, see it, neem seed 612, is that it's safe to put down anywhere, and it keeps the insect load down. So especially if you're growing inside of a hoop house where it gets really hot, you have a tendency to get whitefly. That's always a big one, or aphids. And you can sprinkle this on the ground, and it will you'll spray or water, and it'll knock down the insects, and they'll actually get into the neem, and it works really well. So I'm not saying that's the only thing you're going to need to keep bugs off of your plants, but I'm telling you that it makes it very easy to keep them down and under control. That's what I'm trying to say. So I have other things over here. Fishbone meal. We all know that for tomatoes, when you're planting your tomatoes, you're going to want to do fishbone, calcium, BioLive, and if you can, mycorrhiza, which is very expensive, but it's very great for your plants. So my mycorrhiza is buried underneath my bags, so I'm not going to be able to show that to you, but you can find that anywhere online to use for your tomatoes. So start getting some of this stuff in case it's not available or you're not able to pick it up later. You want to have those things on hand. So if you have some basic feed, the neem, if you want to keep down the insect issue, good idea. Your starters, your seedlings, something that you can feed them with is a good idea. You don't have to do that. Some people are afraid to do that, but I do that. It makes a huge difference. So, talking about seedlings, I just wanted to show you. Peppers are the last things to come in. When you do a seedling, people will call me and go, "Oh my gosh, my peppers, they're not growing." They take forever. So here's one little pepper plant that came up today, I think. Poblano, see it? Little poblano plant versus all the tomatoes that came up. So it takes a different amount of time for different vegetables to come up. And I've got something growing over here for someone else. It's someone who works for me, not right now, but before. They wanted me to do all their starters because they can't get their starters going and they don't survive. So I went ahead and put his cucumber in. So to show you that. See that? Now, because cucumber comes up so quickly, you want to do it later. Like I'm actually going to do this weekend, today, cucumber, squash, and melon. Now you can wait a little longer because it grows quickly. Comes up fast, grows quickly. You can wait, but I'm not waiting. I'm actually going to overgrow, second pot my squash before I put it in the ground because I want a lot more squash from it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to repot these into those pots that I showed you the other day. These, right? They're still going to be under the lights, right? You want to keep them under the lights. But when these seedlings get to be 2 inches tall, you're going to pull the dome off and you're going to drop the light, because the idea of the light is that you want the seedling to reach for the light. It's going to continually grow towards the light, and that's what you want to do. So you're going to drop this down a little bit. You're going to get that seedling to want to pull higher and higher. And then when it gets, you know, almost a transplanting stage, you're going to start turning the lights off at night. You're going to give the plant a break because it's overworking it whenever the light is on too long. And we'll talk about that later, but just in your mind, start thinking about that kind of thing. Also, buy a fan. You're going to want a fan because when they get tall enough, they're still going to be leggy, even though they've been under a light and on a mat. The fan will blow, you'll have it blow and rotate throughout the day to strengthen the legginess of the plant, of the seedling. So it's like the wind blowing, strengthening the seedling so that it can sustain whenever you transplant it. You want it as strong and virulent as possible when you put it into the ground. So the fan is to help you do that. So grab one of those fans, either a small desk fan if you've got everything on a table, or you can get a standing. I use a standing room fan and I put it right there. So it blows in all over in here. See that? It'll rotate and it catches everything, and then I can tip it up. It'll catch the top shelves, it'll catch the bottom shelves, because these shelves will be full of these containers with plants like super tall. They'll be very tall. They'll be tall, taller than this. Like we'll have to move them out into the bottoms. It's crazy. You'll see when we get there. But so I want to talk about the few other things you might want to get your hands on quickly, and have those. I know that people are struggling to get seed. I'm sorry, I have to carry that thing around. People are struggling to get seed. Got a message from Seed Saver the other day that said that they've shut down phones and they've run out of seed. So I think everybody's getting the idea of what they need to be doing. So if you're finding a hard time finding specific seed that you want, you might want to try Etsy. Etsy has growers all over the world that you can order seed from, and it's expensive because they're not a major corporation, you know, selling seed for a living. But if you want something in particular, like pak choi, which a lot of people have been emailing me about, it's sold out everywhere. So you want to make sure to go to Etsy and see if you can find some left. I went there yesterday and bought out a whole lot more for fear that this next year is going to be even worse. So you might be able to find some on Etsy. Otherwise, scour Google. You know, you've got some companies that have small amounts of certain greens that they sell, and it may pop up. Go there and get it. Try to find it organically if you can. If not, GMO free at least. Eventually, you can evolve that plant into an organic plant as long as you don't use anything on it that's not organic. And there are other rules about it, but in a nutshell, you can evolve that plant if you have to. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and plant. I'm going to seed the squash, the melon, and the cucumber today, and I'll show a video of it. It takes about a week, and the squash starts to, cucumber and squash just pop. They get large, so make sure when you're doing your trays and in your head you're like, oh, I'm going to do 70. It's great, that's great, but you're going to have that 70 all over a table inside your house or all over wherever for a little while before you put it in the ground June 1 or later. So make sure you have enough space to put all the pots, and they're going to be tall. So if you've got lights over top of them, you need to figure out a way to get your lights up so that it can be above the plant enough to allow the plant to grow without burning. Always make sure if you're growing outside that your temperatures are very warm. When you have lights and mats, it really helps. If you have a tent, it'll keep it really nice and warm in there. But like last night, it was 17 degrees. So this tent had to be pulled down. This door had to be shut. I have a heater in here just in case. I come in and check. I have a little thermometer. Let me show you. I stick in the area, right, to make sure that the area is warm enough. The dome will keep it safe. The dome is a good thing to keep the warmth in, but when you pull the dome off, which is going to be pretty soon, the ambient air temperature is what you're dealing with. That you really have to be careful of, especially up here. You guys that live up here at 6,700 or higher, you know, in the divide area, our weather is insanity. Like we'll have 17 and then it'll go like today to 48 and then tomorrow's going to be 63 and you have to be careful too about the heat. You got to monitor that also. I have to open this seedling door sometimes and pull this curtain back to keep the ambient temperature like in the 80s. I usually like to keep it in the 80s. If it goes to the 90s, that's okay too, but you don't want to get too hot. You want to keep everything as normal as possible for the plant so that its survival skills are good. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like an emotional thing. After you work with plants for a while, you start to get this weird relationship. Sometimes I can look at a plant, you know, and figure out what it's asking me for. It's weird, but you'll see. Okay, so I will get back to you on the squash and then anything else I can think of. And if you have questions, shoot me a note and I'll do a video on whatever it is you want to know. Okay? Again, this is what works for me. It's not all right. There's no right or wrong. This is just what I found up here that works for me. So if you've got something better that works for you, that's great. Or if you've heard different information, try it. This is just what I've figured out in the last 8 years of trying to suffer through this up here. So I'll video again soon.